All right, welcome back. Thank you. Very good. Any questions before we get started? Guys, I see her murmuring. Let's start. Okay, thank you. All right, any questions before we get started? No? All right, let's start with a question. If you go to your books, please, page 115. And we'll use this for a poll question. You see problem number 1? Okay. I'll read it. O owns a ring. While visiting her daughter A, O leaves the ring on the bathroom sink. After O leaves, A discovers the ring. When A telephones O to tell her of the discovery, O tells A to keep the ring as a gift. Has O made a gift to A? All right, that's your question. Has O made a gift? Yes is A. No is B. Has O made a gift? On page 115, example 1. Okay. Give you another 10 seconds or so. All right. I think I just bet everyone. Okay. Where did I leave off last time? Cassidy, you're next?
Yes.
Okay, Cassidy. So help me out here, right? What are the 3 elements needed to have a gift? What are our 3 elements?
Intent, delivery, and acceptance.
Okay, let's take them one at a time, right? Intent, delivery, and acceptance, right? What does it mean to have intent? What kind of intent do you have to make a gift?
You have to desire to confer the property into permanently onto the donee.
Okay. When does the donee, please be on time, okay? Thank you. When does the intent have to be for? For the present or the future?
You mean it has to be
For example, if I say, I'm going to give you this present next week, is that a gift?
yes.
Well, let's say it this way, right? If I say, Cassidy, you're a really good student. I want to give you a present next week. Can I decide tomorrow, nah, never mind?
Yes.
So what kind of intent do you have to have a gift?
Present intent.
Okay. Present intent. I like the way she phrased that, right? When you think of the first element of gift giving, the intent has to be a present intent, right? That is, I am intending to give you something now, not intending to give it to you in a week or a month or a year. I'm intending to give you this interest, this property now. And that makes a huge difference. Okay, who's next? Are you next? Okay, Cam. So the second element is delivery, okay? What does that mean, delivery?
That it basically changes possession from one to the other, where you intentionally bestowed it upon the
Yeah, and like you didn't use the word give, which was good, right? Bestow, that's a good word as well, right? You're transferring, right? You are transferring the item from A to B, right? You're transferring the item from A to B. Now, Cam, is it required always to hand the item to the person?
No.
Why not?
Sometimes whatever the object is, it's not possible.
Yeah, let's say I want to give you a piano, right? Can I just hand you a piano?
No.
No. Let's say I want to give you a car. Can I just hand you a car?
keys, but
Ah,
itself.
you always see like on Christmas time those commercials, right? Where people get like a Christmas gift and they, here are keys. Has anyone ever actually seen that actually happen in real life?
It happened for my grandmother.
Really? That's actually really sweet. You gave her a pair of keys and that was it?
Yeah, well, when I was a kid, I'd get really excited about big presents, and she was like, well, you know, the best present I ever got was in a box this big, and it was a pair of car keys.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So maybe it didn't happen, but...
Was it a Lexus? You know, with the little red bow on it? No.
Yeah.
All right, I've never actually seen that happen, but I'll stand corrected, right? So there's some ways where you can have delivery without actually handing over the item, right? You can't hand over a car, you can't hand over a piano or a dresser, so maybe a key or some other symbol might be a way for you to satisfy the delivery element, okay? Now, Ricardo, what is acceptance? What does that third element mean?
When the donee receives the gift.
Oh, you can use the right word. So let's just pause here, right? Donor and donee, right? And I didn't have to bring it up. You brought it up, Ricardo. Very good. Who's the donee in this picture?
The person accepting,
Yes, the person receiving the gift, right? Who's the donor?
the person giving.
Very good. And how do you remember that? What's the little trick I showed you guys?
So me.
Exactly, yeah. I'm telling you, it sounds stupid, but you'll remember this till you graduate, take the bar. This you'll actually remember. Most things you'll forget. It's true, you forget most things, but this one you actually remember. The donee is receiving, the donor is giving. And you remember that the EE, giving it to me? Right. So delivery is basically the donor gives, right? And acceptance is basically the donor receives. Oh, I'm sorry. I screwed up my head, yeah. Thank you. The donee receives, right? Just a brief note. Often, it's presumed that people accept valuable gifts, right? Generally, people don't turn down valuable gifts. I guess it happens if you don't want it. So sometimes the courts, even though they have evidence of acceptance, will just presume acceptance. It's not a huge thing, but just put that somewhere in the back of your minds. Okay? Everyone with me so far? All right, so we have 1, 2, 3. We have these 3 elements of the gift. All right, let's see what people put here. Was there a gift? Wow, that's pretty close. That's, I think, maybe the closest one we had this semester? I think so. All right, so let's I'm not going to tip my hand yet. Let's see what happens, right? But Nikki, what did you put here? Was there a gift or not?
I put no,
Okay, tell me why.
because there wasn't any symbolic or constructive delivery.
Why do you say that?
Because nothing was handed over. There wasn't like some type of like instrumentality to like represent the deal.
Well, if let me make up another hypothetical. Let's say, Nikki, I want to give you my phone. I'm going to leave it over here for you, and after class you come pick it up. Is that a gift?
Probably not.
Why not?
Because you didn't tell me.
I'm telling you right now, Nikki, I want you to have this phone, but I'm going to leave it right here, and when you're comfortable, just come up and you can come grab it. Is that a gift?
Sure.
Was there any sort of documentation?
No.
Ah, so do you think there was delivery in this case?
No.
Okay, why not? How was the what?
It wasn't the rule like, or the traditional rule. Under the traditional rule, no. Because it said if you can hand something over, you ought to.
Well, but I'm not handing you my phone. Look, I can give you the phone here, but then I have to jump for poor Kinzer, right? What if I say, you know what? I'm gonna leave my phone over here, and when you get a minute, come on over and pick it up, and that way we don't have to knock her over. Is that a gift?
Sure.
All right. Diana, what do you think? What'd you put here?
I put yes, but I'm on the fence right here.
Okay, that's fine. Why are you on the fence?
Because of delivery.
Delivers. That's one
But-
bothering you?
Yeah, but also O had the opportunity to take it back and she
Well,
decided not to. So
So let's go one at a time, right? Okay, so was there intent to have a gift here? Let's go one step at a time, Diana.
not at the beginning, no.
Not the beginning,
Yeah, she left it there.
but was there intent later?
Yes.
At what point in this question, let's go back to the question itself, right? Diana, at what point was there intent?
As soon as she decided not to take it back.
Yes, okay. So I think everyone probably agrees with me on this much, right? Initially, she just forgot the ring. But at some point, she said, you can have this ring. At that point, intent was satisfied, right? So everyone gets hung up on not intent, but delivery, right? Why, why, Jenny, why is delivery so case? No. Delivery is not verbal. What's delivery?
Handing it over. Or the physical exchange.
Right. Why is delivery in this case kind of weird?
Because it happened before.
Yes. Delivery occurred before intent. Usually think of it the other way. You think, first, I intend to give you this phone. Here's this phone, right? But it's backwards. It says, I forgot my phone's over here. You know what, Jenny, you can have it. So in this case, delivery comes second. I'm sorry, delivery comes first, and the intent comes second. Now, Jenny, does that matter? Can you have a valid gift if you do delivery and then intent? Okay, you say yes. Blake, what do you think?
No.
You say no. Why do you say no?
Because you can't intend to transfer property that you don't have possession of after you've mislaid or lost it.
Okay, so Blake, let me ask this question. How could O have actually given A the ring at this juncture? What would have had to happen for O to give A the ring?
She would have had to recover her lost or mislaid property.
And then do what?
And then physically transfer it.
Okay. In other words, she'd have to go back to the house, pick up a ring, and hand it right back to her. Do you think the court's required to do that?
Not entirely sure right now.
Dave, what do you think?
I think just as long as the elements are satisfied and just not in the correct order, then the court will be happy.
That's the right answer, right? So there's a valid gift here. The answer is A, right? And let me explain to you why. I think Blake identified the exact issue, and he sort of maybe, when I asked this follow-up question, he started maybe recognized where I was heading with it, right? But the answer here is A. All of the elements are present. There's intent, there's delivery, and there's acceptance. She accepted the ring. Okay? The only wrinkle in this question is that the intent came after the delivery. The courts effectively say we don't need them to be done in order, right? You can basically approve a gift after you've already left it behind. So let's say you lost or mislaid or abandoned property, and then you decide, you know what, I don't really want it anymore. You can just keep it. The law, the courts don't make you go back and take it, reclaim it, and then hand it right back. It's almost a meaningless ritual. If your intent is a present intent to convey it, she can then say it's right there. And that's the example I gave to Nikki a couple minutes ago. If I just leave my phone here and say, you know what, Nikki, you can have my phone. You can just take it whenever you want, right? That's a valid gift, right? It's not required that I have to go back, hand it to her, then say, Nikki, here's the phone. So the answer here is A. There's a valid gift. Okay? Sarah?
So in a problem like this, how do we know there was acceptance?
What did I say a few minutes ago? By acceptance.
If they already have it.
No. What did I generally say how courts treat the third element? Remember what I said? Yeah. The courts presume acceptance.
Oh, okay. Oh, because most people would.
Don't turn down valuable presents. Yeah. It's not always, right? So unless there's evidence that they turned it down, the courts presume that's acceptance. That's why I didn't even mention it. But in this case, I think I think it's safe enough to assume that she accepted the ring. But even if I don't tell you that, you can assume it's there.
So if we were to get a problem like this, we can just presume there was acceptance.
Unless there's evidence that she rejected it. Like, let's say, I don't want to pay the taxes on this, whatever. I don't know, right?
Or like an engagement ring.
Oh, if you say no to a ring, you don't get the ring. Well, we'll talk a lot about engagement rings a little bit later. I got an entire thing on Kardashian. I got an entire thing on rings. There's a lot of stuff on engagement rings. There's a lot of law on that actually, because they're valuable things. All right, I saw another hand somewhere. Yeah, Doug, was your hand up?
It was when you asked.
What was the question?
It was just as long as the intent is present, the other two.
Yeah. Okay, so with these gifts, though, we have to actually ask, is there present intent? Okay? Now I think, Stuart, you're next. So the next sentence reads, can A change her mind the next day and require A to return? Oh, I'm sorry. That just jumped ahead. I'm sorry. But you can read the rest of the question, right? Can A change her mind and require the return during the next day? In other words, once you give a gift, can you change your mind, say never mind?
No.
Why not?
I know to say gifts can't be given back.
Oh, I mean, that's what we always say as kids, right? But why is that the case as a property law matter?
Title transferred over.
That's exactly right. Once you give the present intent saying, I'm giving you this ring, it's no longer yours. You have no control over it. You cannot control it anymore. You cannot reclaim it. Right? The same way if I give you a written deed, I can't rip it up and say, never mind, just kidding. Right? You would need a writing to undo it. With gifts, it's gone. It's out of your hands. It's irrevocable. Or it's actually irretrievable. That'd be a better word, right? You can't reclaim given gifts. Okay. Everyone with me? Everyone understand that? Okay. All right. This is our last topic in the unit on possession. Right? This is our last topic, for the unit on possession. On Tuesday, we start a very new topic that will confuse the heck out of you. I'm warning you, be very, very, very careful with your readings on Tuesday. It's only, oh my God, it's like what, 5, it's not many pages. It's very few pages for the reading on Monday. There are no cases, which is your first sign something's different. It's a different unit altogether, so I'm telling you, just read those very carefully. So enjoy this one. It's sort of your last lap through possession. Okay? All right. The topic of gifts is different than selling stuff, and there's an obvious difference with a gift. What's absent? Anyone? Marissa, when you give someone a gift, what is not expected in return? Consideration, right? The very definition of a contract for sale is there's got to be some consideration, peppercorn, there's got to be something, right? But a gift is usually done for affection, for love, for whatever, right? You're giving out of the kindness of your heart. Whatever your motivation is, you don't expect anything in return. And that's important, right? Marissa, do you need a writing to give a gift? In other words, there's a statute of frauds applied to the topic of gifts.
No.
That's right. That's why someone said earlier you need a written instrument. That wasn't exactly correct, okay? You need a writing for some sort of contract of sale to satisfy the statute of frauds. But there's no statute of fraud requirement for gifts. Gifts can be given orally. Gifts can be given by handing someone the item. That's enough to transfer a gift. Now, what's the risk, though, Marcos? What's the risk when we're relying on oral conveyances? What's the challenge there?
It's hard to prove that that person actually gifted you what you said.
And that's the issue with our first case, which we'll get to in a few minutes, right? When you're dealing with gifts, often you don't have complete evidence. You don't have a written statement. And often all you have is words which were not recorded and which people can disagree about. And then you have the added complexity of delivery, right? Was the thing actually delivered, or was maybe something else given over? Okay? Now, why is delivery so important? Okay, I'm going to put a word on the board. It wasn't in your reading. It will be in your reading for next week. But this phrase, livery of season. I know it's like season, right? But livery of season, or delivery of season. This is an old medieval concept, right? In modern days, if I want to transfer a piece of land to you, I need some sort of written instrument, right? How was it done during medieval times? There was no writing back then. People were largely illiterate. They didn't read. So how would you go about showing that you want to convey a piece of land to someone? Well, you can't pick up an entire plot of earth and hand it to someone, right? That's not, right? Just think about it for a second. You can't do that. That doesn't work. What can you do? What can you give someone to symbolize that you're giving them your land? You give them part of your earth. You give them a clump of dirt. And there was a ritual known as livery of season, in which you actually conveyed a clump of dirt to someone to signify you were transferring the land. I'm going to show you a video. I don't have a pot of dirt here. I thought about doing this too messy, but I found this video online and it's absolutely perfect. Okay.
It also states a branch.
Watch the video, yeah. Check the video out, right? Okay. This is a little old, but it's good.
Buyer, and you're selling me this land.
Yes, and we
Hold on.
Now, am I the buyer or the seller?
You are the buyer.
And you're selling me this land.
Yes, and we've come out here with 2 witnesses.
Okay.
What?
By the way, the 2 witnesses requirement's old. It's an old requirement. Because if you're doing this ritual in the woods, you want people to say, I witnessed this ritual. So you need 2 people who are able to watch it.
And how does this procedure go?
Okay. You're going to start by cutting out a piece of turf on the property.
All right, so we'll just...
Then, and you hold on to that turf.
I hold on the turf, okay?
Now, put money
That looks
in the
dangerous.
hole.
All right, got some cash. What a buck for this?
Buck
Will
is
this
worth
work?
here, it's a couple shillings back in Old England.
Okay.
Okay, and then hand me the sod.
This piece?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
And I take the twig,
Yeah.
and I take the sod, and I say this following: This turf and twig I give to thee, as free as Athelstan gave to me, and I hope a loving brother thou wilt be. And I twiggled you with the twig.
Really?
Yes, I do.
You will never forget that. For all of law school, you'll remember the twiggle, I swear. Students years was like, I remember the twiggle. So you've been twiggled, right? There you go. You're welcome.
I put it in the sod, and I hand it to you.
Thank you.
And then
And by the way, do you know why they did the twiggle thing? For blind people, right? I know this sounds like absurd, but if you were older, maybe your vision was gone, this was something that you could physically, that you felt the twiggle, that this was actually being done. It was meant as like the equivalent of a writing, even though they were largely illiterate.
and you take the sod and put it back in the hole.
All right.
And with that, you just bought this wonderful property.
And I've been twiggled.
Yes, you have.
Wow.
And the reason for that was so that blind.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, okay.
By
I saw a stuns there. I'm sorry. Okay. But that's the idea, right? The entire basis of the concept of delivery stretches from this little ritual from medieval times. 1 second, right? What you're going to find in property is so much of what we do today is premised on things from medieval times. For example, when you buy a house. Anyone ever buy a house before? There's something called closing, right? Closing. And at the very end of closing, what do? You take the keys and you give it to the other person. That is the modern equivalent of the twiggling. I guess if you twiggle with your keys, I'll get a little weird, right? But it's the same idea. You're giving them a physical symbol of transferring the property. Okay, Cassie, you're patient waiting.
Why do you think they had to rhyme?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's no one's ever asked me that before. I've shown this video many times. I don't know, actually. Maybe easier to remember, right? Maybe there was a certain saying in a community that would always say the same thing, and this was like a way to remember it.
I like it.
You like it?
We should bring it back.
It's just easier than feeling like disclosures for more. This is a lot simpler. Clayton.
So when did he take the money out of it?
I don't know. Someone asks me every now and then. I suppose you came back later and you took it out.
Couldn't dig around.
What was that?
I think if I could dig around, the money still.
I don't know. It was like a penny, right? It wasn't a lot of money, but I guess they dug it up at some point. But let me explain this thing a little bit differently. This was not done once. Very often, it's had to be done once a year, right? On a specific day, maybe on the solstice, right, or the longest day of the year. And why was it done every year? So people would remember the conveyance that this land came from so and so, right? And some of them were very funny. It's like every year, on the summer solstice, you have to deliver like 12 red roses, and they have these very elaborate. No, they have these very elaborate rituals. Because again, these people, there was no computers, there was not much record keeping, they weren't literate, they couldn't read. And so this was something like a physical display, like a show they could use to signal to the world what's going on. Say instead of having an ownership, you have what's called a leasehold, a lease, right? where every year you have to deliver pieces of silver in a public ceremony at a certain point, so that way every year you know this is the landlord, this is the tenant. That these very elaborate rituals. So delivery is because of these guys with the hats, right? Because of these twiggle rituals. Okay, you'll never forget this for the rest of your lives, I promise. Any questions on the twiggling, or anything else I just said? No questions? All right, we can move on. All right. Delivery, you get creative, right? You can't physically move a piece of earth, so instead you cut out a little piece of sod, a little piece of, and this is actually very nice. They cut it very neatly. You can just take a clump of dirt, right? It didn't have to actually be like this nice little square, little Martha Stewart, right? You have a very nice little manicured lawn. You take a clump of dirt with some twigs, right? There's the root and branch. But this is what's known as a form of constructive delivery. And this is a term that I want to focus on for a few minutes. Constructive delivery. I think Jaleesa, I think you're next. Jaleesa, you want to tell me what is constructive delivery?
Actually handing over something that will give you access to the gift.
Good, but why is it okay to not hand over the actual thing? Why is it okay to hand over something else?
Because it shows that you have possession over.
Okay, well, my question is a little bit different. Why wouldn't you hand over the actual thing?
Maybe you can't.
Yeah, it's not practical. That's what I'm looking for, right? Generally, when you can do actual delivery of the actual item, you do actual delivery, right? The law prefers actual delivery. If I want to give you a ring, I hand you the ring. If I want to give you a book, I hand you the book. If I want to give you a phone, I hand you the phone. But there are some things for which it's not feasible, right? I can't hand you an apartment, right? It's just not something that can be moved around. But I can hand you the keys to the apartment, right? I can't hand you a car, but you can give Cassie's grandma a nice little box with keys in it. That's actually really sweet, I guess. Where you can give the gift, you should. What happens, Giancarlo, what happens if I want to give you maybe a painting? We'll do that case in a little bit later. And I write you a letter saying, hey son, I'm giving you this painting. And I'm just giving you a letter. And the painting, is maybe about the size of this, screen.
Well, in the other case, they were talking about how it was going to be impractical.
Yeah.
For the painting, because they had homes in Europe and in the U.S. They would have to.
Yeah, first world problems, right? Yeah. Right. So even something that's kind of small that isn't ginormous, there could be logistical difficulties. So constructive delivery can work in a lot of different contexts. Historically, I think I mentioned the preference was of actual delivery, but the more modern, more current approach is courts aren't so strict, and they're sort of watered down the requirement. And if it's like a pain in the neck, basically, to transfer a painting that's like this big, you just send a writing, and that's sufficient. But at common law, at historical times, you had to have physical delivery wherever it was possible. There's a related concept of symbolic delivery. Symbolic delivery generally means having a written instrument and giving you this painting. Let me tell you, they're basically the same thing, right? I'll use the phrase constructive delivery, but you'll see symbolic. I think the terms are more or less synonymous. I think there's probably a subtle difference, but not one I care much about. Okay? All right, everyone with me? All right, if you want to go back to page 115, please. And there's a second paragraph. And Adam, you want to read it for me? Just where it says, suppose that A.
Suppose that A does not telephone O to tell her the ring has been found. A week later, at dinner with friends, A surprises O by producing the ring. O takes the ring, looks at it, then gives it back to A, saying, I want you to have it. It's yours. Okay,
stop right there, Adam. At that point, has there been a gift? At that exact point where I just stopped you. And tell me your thinking.
I don't know if I would say there has been.
Well, just give me the elements, right?
Okay, so there has been obviously the intent because she.
What'd you say? What's the intent?
I want you to have.
Very good.
It's yours.
Okay, there's intent, check.
And then I guess she does give it back. So
Is there delivery?
There is delivery.
Okay.
And then I guess, as you had said, if there's intent and there's delivery, then there's acceptance.
Indeed. Look, well, right. See, well, it gets a little messy, right? Because it says she tries the ring on, which means she took it.
Yeah.
Is that enough to show acceptance, I think?
I would presume.
Okay. So is there a gift at that point where I just stopped you?
So then, yes.
Okay, I think that's right. At that point, you have intent, you have delivery, you have acceptance. You took the ring. And even if you didn't have her taking the ring, I think you still presume acceptance. Okay, everyone with me? Okay, so Naveen, let me ask you the next sentence. It says, A tries in the ring, but it's too large for a finger. So O says, oh, let me wear it until you can get it cut down to fit you. And then A gives the ring back to O. How would we describe that transaction when A gives a ring to O to wear it until you get it cut down to your finger? What do we call that?
That wouldn't be delivery, right?
Well, did A give O a gift, a permanent gift?
No.
So what do we call that when A gave the ring back to O? How would we describe that? It's a word for it.
Is it like a loan?
No, not a loan. Chance?
Bailment.
Did he just tell you the answer?
Well, he asked.
All right, no. Anthony, what's the answer here?
Bailment.
Yeah, bailment. I'll come back to you in a second. Yeah. Look, I'm not going to, he gave you, right. I have very good hearing. It's a curse at times, but yeah. My Uber drivers hate it. Like, please turn the radio off. It's always a thing. All right, Anthony. So how would we characterize this transaction from A to O?
A bailment.
That's right. Right. Why is it a bailment?
Because he's giving it to O or she's giving it to O for the purpose to hold on to it and keep it.
A limited safekeeping, right? It's not a gift, right? O is not. I'm sorry. A is not saying hold on to this forever. A is simply. I'll come back to you in a second. A is simply saying hold on to it, right? So in this case, A is the bailor, O is the bailee. Okay? So at that point, Anthony, whose ring is it? Still A's ring. Okay, go ahead.
Can we liken this to the criminal term of custody? Like if you're going into a department store to try on clothes and you've got custody of the jacket that you're trying on, it's still the department store's ownership. They're allowing you to.
Yeah, I wouldn't go quite that far. I mean, I suppose if you think about it, when you go into a store, you're an invitee, and they're letting you use their stuff in a limited purpose, right? I mean, you can try on the clothes, but you can't walk out the store with it, right? You know, maybe you can try in some articles, but you can't like try on like undergarments. You know, there are limitations on what you can do with stuff. I guess I haven't really thought about that. Okay, but let me ask you, yeah, Anthony.
Is the rationale the courts have, like, for not needing intent before delivery, that, like, if, I guess, the original possessor, they got intent after delivery, really wanted it back, they would say, I'm not giving it to you right now.
Yeah.
Does it also have a convenience factor to it?
Yeah, it makes things easier, right? You don't have to, I think this was Blake's question about half an hour ago, right? You don't have to do a meaningless back and forth. We just presume we cut to the chase. If the intent is present and there's acceptance, we don't have to waste our time inverting it and going back and giving it back, giving it forward, just a waste of time. For once, courts are actually efficient. Often courts require you to do stupid middle steps, but here they're not. In the next sentence, which isn't very important, it says, O leaves a dinner wearing the ring, of course, is struck by a car and killed. Unfortunately, on my exam, people die violently and quickly. It's usually right before or after they've conveyed property. Well, actually, it has to be after, I guess. But usually, if someone conveyed property, they're about to die, right? It's like, that's just how exams work. I'm sorry. You know, there's not much character development. It's just, well, they sold property, they're dead, right? There's lots of car accidents. I remember one year at a rodeo, people got stampeded, right? So I'm sorry. People have to die to make these questions work. You know, they died for a greater cause. It's grotesque, I know. Okay, so in that case, the ring remains with A. It's A's property, so A would win that suit. Okay, any questions on that? All right, there's a note number 5. I think it's number 5 with Putin, and no, where is it? Is it 4? Where is it? Oh, they took it out of the book. Ugh, I hate this. They took out the book. Okay. So this is a funny story. I always forget. It was note 5. They took out the book. That's right. So in 2005, Robert Kraft, he's the owner of the New England Patriots football team. Is that in the book? No. Anyway, so he met with Vladimir Putin, who was then and now the Russian president. And here's how Kraft tells the story. Putin put on the ring, and he said, "I can kill someone with this ring," right? The Super Bowl ring. And then Kraft says he put his hand out to get the ring back, and Putin put it in his pocket. And then the 3 KGB guys walked around, and they walked away. So initially, Kraft demanded the ring back, but after the State Department intervened, he said, "I decided to give the ring as a symbol of respect and admiration for our countries." Right? So this is an exact case where you had theft that was later ratified by intent. Right? When Kraft gave him the ring, it was a bailment, I guess you can call it, right? It was a bailment, I suppose, to Putin, right? And at that point, right, he said, "Never mind, I am giving my intent to give it." Delivery and acceptance happened before the intent, so it became a valid gift. So now the ring belonged to Vlad. Hope I don't get radium poisoning after this. Okay. God forbid. Okay. Okay. Any questions on that one? All right. I'm sorry. Yeah, Marcos.
I've heard the story of I guess another version of that one that Putin told him, "Thank you for the gift." Would that change anything?
Yeah, it's like it'd be a shame. It'd be a shame something happened to you, right? You know.
Acceptance first, then intent.
I mean, look, if you say thank you for the gift, and I reply, yes, it is a gift. I suppose that's a gift, even of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir, Alan.
So would duress matter at all when it comes to someone forming an intent to give property over?
Would what matter?
Duress.
Yeah, I mean, I use coercion, but duress. I mean, if I put a gun to your head and said, "Hey, that's a really nice laptop you have there. It's a really nice computer you got there." He's like, "Josh, would you like it?" "Oh, I'd love that gift. Thank you." Right? I suppose you could try to void the gift, but it's not. I don't know if. I think you have to have. I don't know if it's a duress. See, we're not in contract world, so the usual rules of contracts don't apply. I suppose you could void a gift by duress. I've not seen that, but I guess it's possible. I mean, generally, if you put a gun to someone's head, it's just considered theft straight up, right? Yeah. You're not trying to rescind a contract as you would in contracts. You're trying to charge a person with a crime. Mm-hmm. So I think you'd have a different approach. Okay. Yes, Marissa.
Can children give gifts?
I think they can. I don't know any reason why they can't. I know they can't form contracts, but children can give valid gifts. They don't. Contracts don't have all the formalities. The children can give gifts. I think they can.
So if a child gave their parents' watch to someone.
Well, I think that the caveat is it would have to be theirs, and I don't know what property children own. In other words, when let me state the question differently. When I say a present intent to give, that means I actually own it, right? I can't say, you know what, I'm gonna give you her book, right? That's not a gift because I can't intend to give something that she owns. Sorry, you're right. So the intent has to be part of that's mine to give in the first place. So I don't think a little kid can give his mom's watch away.
What if it was his own watch, but his parents didn't agree with it?
Oh, I mean, now you're getting to issues of child custody and what can kids do on their own. If the parents don't approve, it could probably void it. I think if the child had agency to hand over a gift, he probably could on his own. I haven't thought about that. Yeah, Elias.
So the giving of a gift is enforceable, despite, by the court system. Why is that?
The giving a gift is not what? Coercible?
Enforceable? Like if I give you something,
right?
And later on, I guess I claim that you took it. You can go to court and be like, actually, you gifted it to me. And
right.
We'll be like, oh, we're going to enforce this, even though there's no consideration or utility to society.
It's all based on oral statements, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was the issue with the Newman case, or the first case we have, right? What was the actual intent of the guy who died, and that they litigate that, right? In general, the reason why written wills are so important is because you have a written statement. When you have these oral deathbed confessions, we don't really know what they're saying. It can be very unfair what happens.
But the court will uphold that gift.
Perhaps. We'll see in the case how the court kind of splits the difference a little bit.
Okay.
The court was not fond on the oral confessions in the next case. Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about engagement rings. I think someone asked me about this. Where is it? I think it's the 4th paragraph. Where is it? That's right. Don't worry about that. I'll just read it to you. They modify the questions year to year, and questions I really like aren't in the book anymore. Right? So here's the classic case. A gives B a very expensive engagement ring, tens of thousands of dollars, right? Which I guess maybe it's not that expensive, but it's a lot of money, right? A gives B a very expensive engagement ring. And let's just say it's a guy and a girl, and the guy breaks off the engagement. Okay? Can the guy recover the ring? Now, this is are you next? I think you are. Okay. Is marriage, right? Is a proposal of marriage a contract?
Yes.
You were very quick to say that.
Because we had about a week of it with Rick's.
Can you sue for breach of contract if an engagement breaks?
Yes.
No, you can't. No, you can't, right? Marriage is one of those things where it's not enforceable. Because let me ask the question: could you get specific performance to require someone to get married? Is that what? Was that? In some countries, you are right. In some countries, it is enforceable, but at least in this one, I don't think it is. Right? But let's just say, Natalie, save us, right? Let's say you have an engagement that breaks up, right?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of an engagement ring?
It's symbolic of your commitment, of the contract to get married.
Okay, I like you phrase it. It's symbolic of a contract, but if there's a breach, let's just say that, let's say the guy decides to call off the engagement. Can the guy recover the ring?
No, because it was a gift.
Well, was it a gift? In other words, am I just giving you this gift because does a husband, say a fiance, make it easier. Does a fiance hand a ring over simply because he likes the person, or is there something else involved in that transaction?
There's both. There's two things.
It's a gift given in anticipation of
The wedding, of marriage.
of an actual consummation of the wedding, right? Okay. So at common law, right? At common law, the rule was, and it was always the husband, so I'll just say husband here, right? At common law, the rule was that the husband could not recover if he was at fault. That is, if the husband was at fault for the breakup of the engagement, he could not recover the ring. Okay? Now, if the woman was at fault, then the husband could recover the ring. You can imagine infidelity, you can imagine cold feet, whatever excuse you want to use. So the common law rule was, if you were at fault, you lost out, right? So if you had given the ring and you were at fault, too bad. But if you gave the ring to a woman and she was cheating, whatever, and broke up the engagement, you get the ring back. That was the common law rule. The modern rule is the ring must be returned regardless of who's at fault. Right? And this is not 50 states. Some states have different rules, but this is the modern trend. So I'm trying to, some of you are wincing, right? But the modern trend, if I can just say it, I'll call it the trend, say the rule, but the modern trend is you can recover. The donor, the giftor, can recover regardless of who was at fault. So in theory, the one fiance could cheat and then get the ring back after the engagement breaks up. And the thinking is marriage should not be viewed so contractually. This is maybe why you so quick to say yes, right? It's not, and it shouldn't be viewed in that fashion. There are some fairly famous cases. Many moons ago, Kim Kardashian married a basketball player. His name was Chris Humphries. And she kept the ring, and he wanted it back. Now, apparently, their prenup said she could keep the ring, and that's something you can litigate for. But there's actually a lot of litigation over fiancés who want to recover rings. And if they sold the ring, they want the cash value of the ring. But this is actually a fairly common litigation. You have rings tens of thousands of dollars, and people want to recover it, sell it. I don't know what they want to do with it, but this does happen a lot, and courts order that the ring must be returned. Okay. Questions on the yes, Deanna.
What if the ring has insurance? Is that
You mean insurance against damage or insurance against like philandering and like cheating?
no.
I mean, no, but this matters though, because when you say an insurance policy, it's usually against risk or something. So I know one person this actually happened to, where he was proposing to his girlfriend at the beach, right? And he handed her the ring inside of a shell or something, and she wasn't paying attention, and she just went, and it was gone, and she chucked it into the sea. And like he put it like in a shell, it's all whatever, all pretty, and she was like, oh, whatever, and he went searching for it, and I mean they eventually got married, but he was pissed. It was a very expensive ring. This. Oh, you have a better one?
No, but if you're making payments on the ring and you don't have ownership of it.
Oh man, so you're the dude who buys an installment plan. The occasion breaks off. Look, I mean that's a non-trivial. I mean, look, you can buy a ring in installment plans or pay with credit card. Or, I mean, you can finance these rings. I mean, they'll do that. Oh, man, yeah. So at that point, you have to bring it back to the store minus whatever the recovery fee, but you're gonna lose out. Yeah.
But, so no one has ownership of it. So in common law.
So just the word ownership is very messy in this class. But what I would say is, if you had purchased the ring on an installment plan, you effectively have title to it. You don't actually have it. The difference doesn't matter for this class. But if you're the one making the payments, it's yours. Same way if you were to buy a car with payments, it's yours along the way. Or if you buy a house with a mortgage, it's yours along the way, even if you haven't paid off the full bill yet.
Well, the husband would be making the payments. So
Fiance, not a husband yet. Yeah.
Would be making the payments. So
yeah, I mean that's got to really hurt where you're making payments and the ring's with someone else and you didn't get the marriage out of it. Yeah, that's happens. I'm sure it happens, right? I don't want to ask people for their family law is a hard class. You're going to take family law at some point. It's families go to court when stuff goes really bad. It's usually divorce or custody. No one ever goes to family court for good stuff, right? Oh, maybe adoption. Adoption might be a rare exception, right? Because that's happy. But generally, when you're in family court, it's real bad. Yeah. That's why hands up over there.
So this is an exception to the gift can't be reclaimed.
It's not, but the engagement ring is not a traditional gift. It's basically, yeah, Sarah said conditional gift. That's a word that's used. I don't like it, but I think it describes it well. It's like a special, it's like a gift in anticipation of something happening. And if that thing doesn't happen, you can reclaim it. So it's not a full gift. Yeah, Troy.
We talked earlier about the hypothetical ring that is given and said you keep it until you can get it resized.
I don't want to call giving an engagement ring an embailment, because once you get married, it converts to a full gift, right? Right? Because once you get married and you consummate the deal, it's hers, right? You liked it, you put a ring on it. Okay, you got it. It's hers. I mean, it's a song, but it actually is accurate. Once you're married, and if you get divorced, you have no claim to return it unless the prenup says otherwise. In other words, it becomes a gift the day of the wedding. At that point, it's not recoverable. Yes? Oh, God. This one always gets me in trouble. All right, go on.
No, because it goes back to your earlier comment about the Kim Kardashian and people, these famous people.
Yeah.
And they have put it in their prenup.
Yes.
Ring, but from what you just said, the rule is once they're married, it's hers, so he can't ask.
Just caveat that. Generally, when you get divorced, you have what's called division of property, right? and you split things in half. So in theory, he could have been entitled to half the value of that ring. So the prenup says this is not going to be considered for purposes of division of property. The ring was not counted. In other words, the ring. And well, yeah, that's also true. But in most states, marital property is going to be gifts given before marriage are generally not considered marital. Engagement ring is very quirky because it's so you need a prenup to get out of that world. I think I said that right. New York Kardashian. Do you know Kardashian is actually like in apprenticeship? I mean, she's actually studying law now in California. In California, you can become an attorney without going to law school. It's called basically reading law as an apprentice. And so I have a common law case book with Randy Barnett. But he also, she Instagrammed a picture of his contracts book. When she common law, she tweets my book. We'll see. That'd be almost as good as Dershowitz, right? Yeah, Jay.
I just have a few little confusions.
Sure.
Once you said that it becomes a gift after the because
and gift is the wrong word. It becomes
the yes to marriage be the promise in exchange for the
don't yeah okay okay. So 2 points. It becomes like a gift, but it's effectively marital property. So it's a weird species of a gift because it becomes a gift at the moment of the marriage. It's a very strange thing, right? The second issue is saying yes consideration? I'm going to say no to that. I mean, that's a philosophical question, but I think in most states, saying yes to a marriage proposal at a, signing a marriage license, I don't think it's consideration. I wouldn't consider it as such.
And neither is I do.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
You don't like the term conditional gift because it makes it sound like a contract?
Yeah, and marriage is not a contract. There's an entire body of law on this I don't want to bore you with, but I'm just a little bit cautious about those phrases. Cassidy, and then Chris.
Is it remainder interest? Does she have a remainder?
We'll talk about remainder in a little bit.
With the ring?
I don't want to do remainders yet. We'll do remainders a little bit later. Using a good word, but just too early in the class.
Okay.
Yeah, I got there maybe 15 minutes. Maybe, yeah.
That would be different from a situation where there's been a gift exchange and now you're asserting to defend a property right.
Yeah, you're getting more into contracts, which I don't feel comfortable enough explaining, but that sounds right.
Okay, I was just wanting to know if that sounds legit because you're talking about enforcing a gift promise, which can't happen, but if there's a gift exchange, the title to the property actually passes, and now that person is asserting their property right in court.
After the wedding, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, can we move on? All right, let's do the first case. Newman against Bost. Okay. Who am I up to? Oh, Lexi, thank you. All right, Lexi, do you want to give me the facts, please, in Newman versus Bost?
Yeah, so the plaintiff is, there's the plaintiff who is a servant of this
Housekeeper. Good,
sorry.
yeah. That's okay.
Housekeeper of this man who is now deceased. So she's suing his estate.
Let's just, what was the relationship between Julia Newman, the housekeeper, and Van Pelt, who was the guy who died?
Was he the executor of the estate?
Oh, Van Pelt was the guy who died.
Oh, sorry, yeah. He was the guy who died, who gifted her.
What was their relationship between the two of them?
Was she not just his housekeeper?
Was that it? Is there anything else going on there?
Did they get married after his wife died?
They did not get married,
Have
but
relations after the wife died?
Okay. I see where you're going with this. Okay. Right, so he was in his 60s, she was in her 20s. This was in the book. It's not a surprise, right? People didn't read, it's like, oh, damn, right? All right. So they were living together for some years alone. He had told her he would marry her. He never did. You know that story, right? It's like every soap opera ever, right? With this, the housekeeper falls in love with the wealthy owner of the house, right? It's true, right? So there was something going on, right? And we can assume it was a sexual relationship. My God, you know, the pearls are being clutched right now. Property. There was something going on between the two of them. We don't know exactly what, but we know he was ill, and he suffered this terrible stroke, right? And it got to the point where he could not speak. He could basically just shake his head yes or no. So Madison, we have this very dramatic moment. This sort of, he's almost on his deathbed, and he's trying to do stuff. And by the way, we don't know for sure this is actually what happened, right? Madison, who are the only people who witnessed this sort of deathbed confessional?
It was the plaintiff.
Julia, yeah?
And then Enos.
Right.
Who calls
Right.
Mr. Houston.
Enos was the nurse, okay? Now, was there anyone there who was maybe related to this guy to witness this thing happening? Any of his heirs were there? Okay, so let me just pause you right here. When you have these sort of deathbed confessionals, and the only people who witness it are those who stand to benefit, right? It was Julia and a nurse who maybe was her friend, we don't know, right? But the only people there are those who witness it. We're suspicious. Because she could just be making this stuff up. Right? This could have never happened. They could have just made it up. Or maybe something similar happened and they embellished it or they exaggerated it. Right? Maybe they sort of like twisted the facts a little bit. We don't know. And I don't want to be cynical of Miss Julie because I think she got the run of a deal, right? She was supposed to get married to, and she got a piano, right? Maybe not even a piano, right? She didn't get anything out of this, so I think she probably got. I don't know. Maybe she's being honest, maybe not. We don't know. But the court here, I think, is skeptical that her rendition of the facts is accurate. I think we can at least say that much. All right. So Sarah, walk me through. What goes on in this deathbed confessional. Did he tell her? Were there words spoken? Could he speak at this point? Was he even able to talk? Okay, so he couldn't talk. So what happens during this deathbed confessional? Well, he didn't have to say anything. He did stuff. He pointed. Did he? Oh God! Did he twiggle her? Sorry. I'm sorry. I'll move on. I'm sorry, sir. All right. So he pointed at stuff. All right. There were four. Please save me.
In the book it says that he did speak, and then after he at first said,
yeah.
You can have all this, he couldn't talk anymore.
Yeah, right. So he's basically.
Does that make a difference or not?
I don't know if I believe that actually happened, but the words aren't what's actually important here, right? Okay, so let's just go through this one at a time. All right, so there were 4 items, right, that are at issue here. So the first item was a life insurance policy. It was a $3,000 life insurance policy. The second item, or items, was some household property that was worth about $200. The third item was a piano, which was worth about $300. And the fourth item, or items, was furniture in Julia's room, which was worth about $45. Okay? Now, Doug, generally, if I want to make you the beneficiary of a life insurance policy, what do I do? You'd write it out, right? Anyone? I'm sure, I'm not going to ask, but some of you probably have insurance policies, a life insurance policy from work, whatever. At the bottom of the form, you have to indicate who do you want your beneficiary to be. 50% to this person, 20% to this person, right? And you need witnesses, right? You need witnesses to verify who is going to be the beneficiary. All right? Did that happen here, Doug? Did he add her name? Did he actually write her name on the policy?
No.
Right. So this creates a problem, right? If you have a life insurance policy and you don't indicate who the beneficiary is, the money goes to your estate. Now, Mandy, did Mr. Van Pelt have a will? No, he was not. What does this word, Mandy, mean, intestate? What does that word mean? Intestate. You guessing?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Anyone know what intestate means?
That you die without a will.
Exactly, right? The word intestate means you die without a will. Right? You can die intestate, or you can be an intestate. Right? It's pronounced the same exact way. Intestate means when you're dead without a will. And when you die without a will, then the court decides how your estate is chopped up. And most states have statutes, we're called the statute of wills, that say, okay, the wife gets this percentage, the kids gets this percentage, the grandkids get this percentage, right? They chop it up. It's not, it's not always neat. It's often very messy. But there's a process in place by which your estate's divvied up. So had Mr. Van Pelt given the life insurance policy to Julia, she would have been the beneficiary. But if he didn't give it to her, the money goes simply to his estate and gets chopped up. And since she never married the guy, she would not get any of it. Everyone understand? All right. So the first one I want to talk about is the life insurance policy. Moises, did the court find that the life insurance policy was gifted to Julia?
Yes.
Tell me why.
Because they took her word for it.
That's not right. You guessing?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Yeah, don't pretend. It's actually much worse. I had a student in the orientation. Was that this class?
No, I just remember. I was
Was that you?
Yeah.
Oh. Is he still here?
It was,
Is that person in this room now? I'm sorry.
I think he's gone.
That's not surprising. I almost. So let me explain what happened. I taught the orientation. I teach it every year, and then there was a student sitting right over there, somewhere in that row. He came in late, and I asked him a question about Pearson v. Post. Remember the Fox case? And I asked him who caught the fox. He's like, oh yeah, the guy killed. He shot the fox. There were no guns involved. He just made it up, right? We were talking about it. He's like, hey, he shot the fox. Like, there were no guns. That wasn't the case. I probably did. I was trying to scare you.
We were scared.
I try to scare I try to scare you, and I almost said you probably won't be here next year. And I said you probably won't. I was thinking this kid's gonna be dropped out because if you're late to orientation and you make up an answer the first day, you're probably not going to make it here. And maybe you can confirm that. I don't remember his name, but he was sitting right over there. Not where in that row, wherever that row is, right? Anyway, so don't make up answers. I'll know very quickly, right? Just say I don't know, and I'll leave you alone. All right. So I'll move on. Yeah, John, how did the court handle the life insurance policy? Okay, good. Right. So Julia argued that the life insurance policy. I have to spell this word right. I always spell it wrong. Oh, I didn't realize you guys. I'm sorry. I didn't remember that you were my section for the. I always try and scare the people. And I make a big fuss if you're late to that. I flip out because I want to get people thinking. What?
It was only 10 of us.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you're here. Yeah, I'm glad you made it. You survived and you took me again. You didn't have a choice. You have no, it's not voluntary, but I have people who at graduation, you taught my orientation class. I haven't seen him since. It happens. Okay. I see about probably half the 1Ls between property and common. I see about half of you. So it's even odds of getting away from me without seeing me again. But it's hard to avoid me. All right. So we have this phrase, donatio causa mortis, or sometimes gift causa mortis. What does that mean, John? Gift causa mortis. What does that phrase mean?
What I understood was that it means
Hopefully, yeah.
You're supposed to get it before you die as well.
Right, okay. This is what a donatio causa mortis. Mortis means death, right? Mort, right? It's a root for death. It means a gift in anticipation of death. And you can imagine, right? You're on your deathbed. You're about to die. And you have all this property. And you say, you know what? I give everything to my wife. That's fine, right? You can do that, right? You don't have time to draft a will. You don't have time to execute a document, right? You say, you know what? I give everything to my wife, okay? Those sorts of practices were very common before people were literate, right? People couldn't read, they couldn't write. It wasn't expected of them to put together wills. But the court here, Lexis, the court here is skeptical of these donatio causa mortises, right? Why is the court skeptical of them? Yes. What is there the risk of?
Being like forced or like fraud or something.
Yes, exactly, fraud. These gifts causa mortis are very risky because there's potential fraud, right? I think I said at the outset, I don't think I believe Miss Julia, and maybe I'm just cynical teaching this case for so many years, but like this is just way too perfect, right? He said this, he pointed this. I mean, come on, write something down, my friend, right? Give me something. All those years he never married her, but on his deathbed he decided to do this. He didn't marry her. Oh God, I'm speculating. He didn't marry her because he probably didn't want her getting the property. Because once he marries her, she gets it as a wife. He could have done that. He didn't. I mean, he would not be the first guy to string a girl along and never actually marry her. I mean, it would not be the first time that happened, right? So the risk here is fraud. And the court notes, right? The court notes that, what was I going to say? The court explains that we have the statute of frauds, we have the statute of will. All this stuff says we want to avoid fraud, and this is like sort of the exception. So what the court says is we're not going to overrule this doctrine, but we're not going to extend it to cases where blank, right? Chase, why is the gift causa mortis statute not going to be extended to this sort of case? What is so easy about this case that we don't have to have this causa mortis doctrine?
Because it was a symbolic gift.
What could Van Pelt have easily done if he wanted to convey the policy to Miss Julia? Or even simpler than writing it? He could have handed her the paper. It's a piece of paper, right? It's, you know, I mean, maybe you're sick, but just hand it to her, right? He could have handed her the paper, and that would have been enough to convey delivery. Yes, Chance.
Going back to some of the contract stuff, could you not argue unjust enrichment on his side because he's older and he wants companionship? Yeah, I get it's kind of creepy, but at the same time,
He wants to abandon ship. What did you say?
Companionship.
Oh, companionship. Oh. So you're saying he was using her, and he unjustly enriched himself by using her all those years. Therefore, she should get this as a remedy. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe not the whole thing, but I mean, I guess.
Okay, this is actually a point. If a person takes care of someone else as an act of benevolence, that cannot be later claimed for unjust enrichment, right? That's something you're doing voluntarily. There's no contract, right? If this happens, right? If a spouse takes care of the other spouse for many years, they're ill, and as soon as one spouse gets better, they divorce them, right? They can't claim additional division of assets because they took care of them. It's considered part of the relationship, right? And I think she was getting a salary. She was working for taking care of, well, not that part, but she was getting a salary for something. I get in trouble with this case. All right. So the first one, the life insurance policy, the court says there's no delivery because it could have been manually delivered and it wasn't, right? So even if he pointed at the furniture, the bureau, he gets the furniture, but not the policy inside the drawers, right? It's not possible to convey to carry a huge dresser, but you can take out a piece of paper. So in other words, the court didn't believe her, right? The court probably said she was making this up. Maybe she was. I couldn't tell you. Then we get to the household property. And if you remember, he kind of gave her a key, right? She gets some of the furniture, that was locked by the key. Right? In other words, you can't hand furniture, but by giving the key over, you get the furniture that can be unlocked by the key. I think that makes some sense. Then you have the value of the piano, which apparently burned down, right? That $300. She needs to show there was an intent to give the piano, right? Was there an actual intent to give the piano? If so, she gets the $300. And then the last one is the furniture in her room. That's fine. There was manual delivery. She can keep that furniture. So the court basically said, you can keep the stuff in your room and maybe the stuff that the key unlocks, and that's it. Everything else goes to the estate, and Miss Julia gets none of it. Okay. But the important point here is the court was skeptical of the gift cause of mortis standard because of the risks of fraud. And they say if physical delivery is feasible, you should have physical delivery. Okay. Questions on the first case? No? All right, let's do the second case. Does anyone like Klimt as art? Really? Yeah. Why do you like him so much?
I wrote like 3 papers on him.
Really?
Yeah. I studied comparative and comparative literature, and that was my focus.
Klimt?
That time period. Yeah, Klimt.
Wow. Cassidy, you too?
Yes, I'm into art a lot.
Yeah, I don't like art. It's never important to me. I can't get art. That's not my thing. But anyway, it's valuable to some people, so that's why I have to teach it. All right. All right. So
Paintings are like the size of the wall.
they're really big.
They're huge. I've seen them. There's some in Australia, and I went to Russia to see some.
Wow. Well, thank you. Hey, a couple of years ago, Sue actually got me a print of one of the paintings, and this is what it looks like. This is the painting that's at issue in this case. It's famous, right?
Yeah, and yeah, it is. It's less famous than it is, but I've seen it.
And then what was that movie called? The Woman in the Gold Painting?
The Kiss. You're thinking of The Kiss.
No.
That's based off the painting The Kiss.
The Kiss, yeah. But it was a woman, right, in gold, right? Okay, well, the movie a couple years ago about Klimt, and it has a Supreme Court scene because there was a Supreme Court case, and it was very poorly done. The justice looked nothing like the people, and I was very upset by it. There was a fan on the bench next to Justice Breyer. There is no fan at the Supreme Court. They don't have fans on their benches. It's ridiculous. I was yelling to screen to theater. It's true, I was. All right, let's do the first case, or second case. So Elias, we have this case, Gruen versus Gruen. Just a tip, whenever you see a case where it's the same name versus same name, it's a family dispute. It's either a divorce or a custody or maybe an inheritance battle, right? Because these are related people suing each other. And this is the New York Court of Appeals. The New York Court of Appeals is the highest court in New York. The trial court is the Supreme Court. All right. Elias, you want to give me the facts, please, and walk me through this sort of very strange ritual between this father and son who obviously have a very affectionate relationship. They write letters to each other, right? I never got a letter from my father. Who does this stuff? But you know, it's like, hello, son, right? All right, give me the facts here, Elias.
So, Elder Gruen allegedly gifted the painting to his son when he was a student at Harvard.
Okay, be very precise. We have a few different letters. So walk me through the letters, right? So the first letter was from April of 1963. So tell me about that letter.
So it basically said that I'm giving you this painting because it was your birthday and you always liked it, but it was destroyed.
Oh no. Okay, so but just be precise. The father wrote, "I am giving you this painting." Did he actually give it to him?
No.
What was the original letter? What did the original letter say about what would happen to the painting now?
That he wished to retain it.
Who's he?
His father.
Yes. So the father wrote, "Son, I love you so much. You're at Harvard. What more can you be proud of? I'm giving you this painting, but I'm keeping it. I'm giving you this painting, but I'm going to retain possession of it, presumably for my lifetime." Now, Elias, do we have this letter in the record evidence?
Yes, sir.
Why not?
Because it was destroyed upon.
Aha. Okay. So now, Ryan, why was the first letter destroyed?
Taxes.
Taxes, right? Tell me more.
So I'm imagining that the
That's exactly right. Yeah, any of you have an inheritance? I mean, that might be one reason why you turn away an inheritance. You don't have to pay the taxes, right? You'd have to sell it, and you may lose out, right? So what did the lawyers? It's always lawyers, great problems, right? What did the lawyers instruct the father to do here?
What did they instruct the father to do?
Yeah.
To burn the letter.
Okay, and then instead in place of the first letter, what did the second letter say?
The second letter was, I could read it verbatim, but he said essentially, I wrote you at the time of your birthday, and it just.
No. In your own words, right? What was the father telling the son of why he had to burn the letter?
Because of that reason.
Right. But what specifically in the letter could they not say? Right. What was the thing in the first letter that was so damaging?
That he was giving it to him.
But he was giving it to him. But what happens now?
But keeping it.
Yes. Right. What does it mean, Ryan, when I give you a gift, but I keep it till you die? What do you call that?
I don't know.
Oh boy, is that Genevieve? I can't see the green. Genevieve, what do you call that if I give you a gift that you get when I die? What's that called? What's a word for it? We did it last week in class.
Oh, an inter vivos?
No, the other one.
Life estate, preserving life.
You're right, but that's not the answer I'm looking for. Right? What do you call a gift that kicks in after someone dies? What's that called? Caitlin? No. No. Testamentary gift. Okay. Took 5 people, I got it. Got what I was looking for eventually. Right? There are 2 types of gifts. You're not, your life estate's correct, and just not there yet. Okay? There are 2 types of gifts. Inter vivos and testamentary. Inter vivos is a gift given during life. This entire topic, I give you a ring, I give you a watch, those are all inter vivos gifts. You do not need a writing, you don't need witnesses, right? But for a testamentary gift, you need a writing signed by 2 witnesses, right? In order to give a gift that kicks in after death, you need a writing signed by 2 witnesses. Everyone with me? Everyone understand that? I'll go back in a second. So Marissa, let me ask you a question, right? If the father said in the first letter, I am giving you this gift, I'm going to hold on to it till I die, you get it after I die. Would that be an inter vivos gift or a testamentary gift?
Testamentary, so it doesn't kick in until after his death.
And if it's testamentary, can it be done in a single letter, signed by just the father?
Well, no, you need 2 witnesses.
Yes, exactly right. The first letter effectively operated as a will. Right? The first letter effectively operated as a will. When I die, you get this painting. And that's why the lawyer made him burn it. Because like, you idiot, right? You can't give a will without the signatures of two witnesses. And wills have all these other formalities. Right? The father was trying to get around the probate process. He was trying to be really smart. Okay, so the lawyers gave him a backup. Right? Grayson, what did the second conveyance say? The second letter.
Said burn the first letter, or send the first letter back.
Okay, burn it. Okay, we got that. What else did it say?
It said that I'm going to send you another letter.
Okay, what other letter say?
The other letter said that you can have, they said that's the painting that you like, and that I'm going to give it to you. I want you to have it.
When?
In 21, after,
Did the letter say anything about the father holding on to it? Did the father hold on to it? Okay. So everyone see the problem here, right? The first letter was candid. It was honest. It said, son, I know you like this painting. You'll get it when I croak, right? At least it was candid. It was honest. The second letter was a little bit more quiet. It said, well, I know you love this painting, and I wish to give it to you as a present. And it was silent about what happens next. It was silent what happens next. But we know what happens next. The father retained possession for another 20 years. And then the father dies. And then the son shows up, and then there's a stepmother, right? The wicked stepmother, right? Which I take was probably the second or third, I don't know, wife. It's not clear, I'm not sure, right? It wasn't his biological mom, okay? And they argue. Right? The stepmother says that this letter was testamentary, right? Even though it said, I'm giving you a painting now, it didn't give you the painting now. All it gave you was a promise to get it when I die. And that requires a will. Everyone get the issue, right? So now one of you said something about a life estate. A couple of you said that today. At least Cassidy, maybe one other person. Let me explain this issue very simply, right? Let's say, Alexa, let's say I tell you, you know what? I'm living in this house now, but I want you to have it when I die. Okay? I'm leaving my house today, but when I die, you can have my house. Can I do that? Why not? Okay, I give you a writing. And I say, Alexa, Josh has the house for now, and when Josh dies, you get it. Does it?
Well, it would be a gift for when you die, and it would be a
Oh. Am I giving you something today?
No, you're giving me a future interest.
Oh, you get such a good answer, but the wrong bottom line. Did I give you future interest today? Can I give you today an interest for the future?
I guess not. It's kind of like an oxymoron.
You can. And that's why this class sucks so much, right? The next 4 weeks, we'll be talking about present and future interests. I can give Alexa today a future interest, and that's a present gift. It's like Back to the Future, right? It's an oxymoron. I can give you today a future interest. Now, Alexa, let me just tease it out a bit, right? Can you take it back, right? Let's say I give you this future interest today. Can you take it back? I'm sorry, can I take it back? You're writing, say, Alexa, when I die, you get my house. Right? I'll live in it for life. When I die, you get my house. Can I take it back the next day?
I would say no.
Why? That's right. Why not?
Because it was a gift and you had the intent.
Yes. Don't say gift. Say it was a conveyance, right? But you're right. Once you give someone what's called a remainder, and that's the phrase we use, a remainder, right? Think of like whatever's left over when you die, right? A remainder. Once you give someone what's called a remainder, which is a future interest, that's theirs, right? That belongs to them. The future interest belongs to them. That's something they own today, right? Samantha, let me ask you a question. Let's say again, I gave Alexa this remainder, and she's like, you know what? I don't really like Josh's house. Samantha, I know you like it. Could Alexa sell you that remainder?
Yes.
She can. She can alienate it. She can sell it for profit. And then you can give it to Garrett, and Garrett can give it to anyone else, right? Because it's in the present, you can do stuff with it. The complicated part is, Samantha, when can you actually move in to the house? Once I die, yeah. Again, people in this class die violently. That's the nature of this class, right? You can sell a remainder, right? And think of it like this. I have what's called a life estate. And if you don't fully understand it, that's fine. But I own it for life. And when I die, whatever's left over goes to Alexa. That's called a remainder, right? I gave her a remainder today, which you can sell to Samantha, to Garrett, etc., right? So it's not testamentary, right? That's why you don't need the witnesses. I gave her something today. All you need is a writing that's signed. You need the statute of frauds. You don't need the statute of wills to be complied with. Everyone get that basic point, right? Today, I gave her a remainder in the house. Everyone with me? So Garrett, let me ask you a question. When the father said in these letters, son, you know, I know you love this painting. I'm going to hold on to it for my life. And when I die, it's yours. What did the father actually give the son in that painting, in that letter? What did he give him?
Oh, what did he give him?
Yeah. Did he give him the actual painting?
He gave him more of a promise.
What do we call that promise? What's that thing called we just talked about? The father said, I'm going to keep this for life, and when I die, you get it. What do we call that? We're using words in class just a minute ago. You're reading the wrong line. Megan, what do we call that? A remainder. A remainder. The father says, I'm going to keep a life estate in this painting. The father says, I'm going to keep a life estate in this painting, but I'm giving the remainder to the son. And Megan, was that remainder given now or after death? And could the son have sold that remainder to an art auction or something else, right? Exactly right. So, Megan, finish it up. Did you need to have two signatures to comply with the statute of wills? Was this inter vivos or testamentary? Yes. This was an inter vivos gift. It was given during life. What was given during life? The future interest, the remainder in the painting. Therefore, there's no obligation to have two witnesses. Right? That's the basic of this case. They say what the father wrote in either of the letters, doesn't even matter which letter you choose, was a future interest in the painting. The father retained a life estate, and the son got a future interest, what we call a remainder. And this is not impractical. Several years ago, Hugh Hefner, right, Playboy, he was getting old and he was running a little bit low on money. So you know what he did? He sold his house, that Playboy mansion. But he didn't sell the entire house. He sold a remainder to the house. And he kept the he kept the life estate for himself. He said, I will live in this house until I die, and then someone else gets it. You can do that. You keep it for yourself, but you convey today the remainder. And that's something that you can have and possess and sell if you wish. I'm sorry?
Oh, like reverse mortgages?
No, and I don't know if time to explain why not, but no. Okay? So the bottom line of this house is the mother was wrong. The mother argued that these letters were testamentary gifts that had to comply with the statute of wills. The court said you're wrong. The letters, either one, doesn't really matter which one you choose, was an inter vivos conveyance. It conveyed to the son a future interest, a remainder in the paintings. You have the remainder today, you're just waiting for the father to die. I know it's morbid, right? You're waiting for the dad to die, and once he dies, it goes to the son. Oh, yes, Tim.
How do you use the term life estate to you? Is you created an estate for that property you conveyed, or?
Okay, so this is a good preview of your reading for Monday. I'm sorry, Tuesday. Remember we described property like a bundle of sticks, right? This might help, right? You have property like a bundle of sticks. You chop it up, right? So let's say this is the entirety of the property. You say, okay, tell you what. I'm going to keep this stick for myself. It's a life estate. And I'll give you this stick. It's remainder, right? What happens when I die? They unite, and you get the entire property back. While I'm dead, while I'm alive, this remainder is sort of floating around, and I have this sort of limited bundle of sticks. But once I die, they, like Captain Planet, right? They combine, and the property is yours. Yeah.
So once I've
And I'll go maybe a minute or two over, so just bear with me, please. Yeah.
sold my remainder, or give my remainder to my children, whatever.
Yep.
Can I split it again and make it, or once I've made the original deal, I can't then split that remainder?
It's not yours to split. Once you hand over a remainder, it's not yours anymore. Your children can divvy it up as they wish, but it's not yours anymore.
And so then if I have two brothers, and so that whatever I get.
You should have thought of that before you gave a remainder. Okay. Right? That's the point. Once you give a gift, a watch, you can't claim it back. Once you give a remainder, you can't claim it back. Now, let me, yes, Sarah.
So my question is, how do you distinguish between a testamentary and
You ask, is there a present intent? The very first question we asked today. Are you giving something in the present moment?
So for a testamentary, like it would be like a will or something?
For a testamentary gift, the intent must be after death you're giving something. You're not giving it until after death. Why? You can revoke a will, right? Yeah. You can say, you know what, I want to disinherit my daughter. You can do that. Until you die, it's not final. Right? With an inter vivos gift, it's final the second you write it out. But with the will, it's not done till you're dead.
So it's the present future interest that distinguishes
And let me then transition to our readings for next week. I think it's a good segue point. The next basically half of the semester focuses on what are called present interests and future interests, right? Present interests are what do you have now? I am giving you this marker today, right? I am giving you this remainder today. That's all in the present. A future interest is I will give you this after I die. You get nothing now, nothing at all, but I'll give it to you after you die. Or I will give you something if this condition happens. Or I will take away this property if something happens. What makes this semester so challenging for students is to distinguish present and future interests, right? It's not enough to say I own this property today. It's who owns it tomorrow, the day after that. Okay? Again, the readings for next class are very short. They're not long at all, but they will leave you confused. I would encourage you to read them 2 or 3 times if you can. You'll need it. Okay? And if you have questions, please come up. I'll be here in office as well. Thank you so much.
So then
Just come up.
what you said